Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including four-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a four-time champion of the NASCAR Pekin Freeze iRacing Series.
Three-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a three-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare two laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Howdy everybody, and welcome to the iRacing Formula 3.5 Championship here at lovely Road America in Elkhart Lake, USA. I'm Austin Knight. I'm joined by Alessandro Tarleton with Marco Barbier up in the production booth. And I hope you all are having a fantastic evening, afternoon, day, morning, night here on Apex Racing TV. Alessandro, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Austin. Thank you very much. Looking forward for this second round, back-to-back rounds here in the US after last week at Watkins Glen, Akota. Sorry, forgot for a moment. We are here in the one of the best circuits for open wheelers, in my opinion, here at Road America, as we are watching the great return of the Jordan livery with James J. Pinsker, who is right now leading the field, not only in iRacing, but also in the fastest lap time so far.
Yeah, we got a new number one. Paul Ilbrink is surprised that he's number two. He thought Tim made his return. No. James J. Peace, after missing top split last week, well, he hit the afterburners right there, and his iRating went from not so high to, geez, man, over 7,000 for James J. Pinkster.
We have lost a few drivers from the Asian representative from Japan compared to last week. We only have Masafumi Aburame today, one of the emerging communities joining the Formula 3.5. But still, we have plenty of people we know very, very well, and we are pleased to see also some new faces.
Robert Tarleton making his return in that beautiful Ferrari scheme that he loves to run. Currently sitting at the top of the table. Let's run on board with James J. Pinkster through the kink and heading into Canadian corner.
Yeah, we've seen multiple crashes this week on this track, but on the GT3 side, these cars definitely have more grip and manage to go through the kink much easily.
pretty much effortlessly through the King. Usually, I remember the Skip Barber when they came here. That was always a dangerous zone. You always had to lift, avoid that bump on the apex, and ooh, just try not to go too wide right there because, oh man, Skip Barber accidents always happen at the most unlikely parts of the track as James J. Peacer goes pole by 7 thousandths of a second.
Samborski on the line too.
Samborski, after coming so close to the win, he's going to try to go for it as he takes provisional pole by 5 thousandths of a second. Tarleton comes across the line, does not improve.
We knew, Austin, that the pace was going to be very, very close between these drivers. Oh, we have a beautiful Fernando Alonso Renault livery for Juan de la Fuente.
Yeah, La Fuente running that classic Renault F1 scheme. I'm going to be honest, I'm kind of hoping they return to this type of scheme next year as Alpine. I don't know, it's going to have a little bit of blue in there, so I'm happy.
So we have already 18 drivers with times. Only Jamie Byrne, Jason Enrique, and Masafumi Aburame are not with a valid lap time so far.
As we're looking at Masafumi right now, as he goes to the carousel, you can see him getting on and off the throttle just a little bit. Even with all this downforce, he's still got to lift just slightly to get this car all the way around the carousel. He goes through the kink. You know, if you blink in this car, you will miss that kink, and you won't completely forget that you ran it. As the TC Corsa car goes through Canadian corner, using all the escape curb right there. Carry on. Here's Jason Enrique on his final attempts. Opens up DRS underneath the NTT sign. Cross the line. Does Enrique? Yes, he does. 14th.
Not the qualifying he wanted, but still is not gonna start at the tail end of the field. Sometimes, Austin, it's even better to start at the back end of the field instead of the midfield because of the shenanigans that usually happen in the opening laps, but it's always better to start up front.
Yeah, it's great start up front. The first laps here get a little bit tricky because the track is pretty narrow. You can go a little bit 3 wide, but someone usually dies whenever we go 3 wide here, especially on the first lap. So I'm expecting most of these guys to go side by side throughout most of the track. And then, let's say after they pass turn 5, they should start making a little bit more aggressive moves. But here is your grid. Everton Borsi started up on pole, followed by the returning James J. Pince here, with Robert Tarleton right behind. Paul Ilbrey, Greg Olson, Antonio Pavetta, Andres Freslite, Riley Miller, Jorge Lopez, I am Keeman, Paul Vasev, John Felipe in 12th place, Canadian near Canada right now. Theodore Burns in 13th, followed by Jason Enrique, Ivan Almoff, Joanna De Fuente, James Byrne, Fabio Berchtold, Evan Emery, Jamie Byrne, and Masafumi Abarume at the end of this 21-car grid here at Road America. Oh, Alessandro, I'm dancing in my seat right now.
Oh yeah, I bet it's gonna be an exciting start. And before we start, we would like to thank our proud sponsors, Virtual Racing School with 50 plus data packs, road and oval racing setups, track guides, data analysis software, and one-on-one coaching. Apex Racing Academy, which is integrated with here, so you can have everything on only one page on one website with 29 data packs, setups, weekly group coaching, and much more. And also our SDK Gaming software to give you plenty of good pictures for your virtual live HUD for iRacing, timing towers, enhanced relative boxing minimaps, fuel calculators, and much more for your streams, to broadcast your leagues, anything you might want to. So thanks very much for being on board as we are going green.
Yeah, the face of the pole sitter, Eric Samborski, is a fine for red light turn coming on. Let's go racing here in the iRacing Formula 3.5. It's a good start by James A. Pizza. Robert Tarleton spins up the wheels, and he's had a horrible round of stars. He falls all the way down the field right now. They're going 3 wide, trying to avoid Robert Tarleton right now. Samborski going to the outside line. Paul Ilbrey looking on to the inside. Paul Ilbrey gets collected by Olsen from the back. It's a massive 5-car pile up here, and more cars are being involved as they're trying to avoid the spinning car. Fuente involved, Keeman involved. Olsen, I believe, is the start of that as he got into the back of, oh my goodness.
Yeah, we will have to watch the replay of that. This definitely gave the chance to Samborski and Piska to pull away already, so they will have an easy job now to maintain this gap to Robert Tarleton, which is followed by Burns and Vasiliev. So big changes in the start of our pack here for the turn 1 shenanigans that definitely ruined a lot of people race, Austin.
Yeah, Paul Ilbrey had a great start, and then he went into the brakes and then kind of checked up a little bit early, and that caught out Greg Olsen, who got to the back of Paul Ilbrey when then, well, we saw what happened after that. We had cars going sideways, cars going off the track to avoid it, and then the re-entry. Let's take a look at this replay, and we see Paul Ilbrey right here, starting in 4th place, right behind Robert Tarleton. And then the lights go out. Robert Tarleton spins up the tires. Horrible start for him, and everyone past him, and he gets a front row seat to what happens. As there's Greg Olsen right behind Paul Ilbrey. He's looking to go 3 wide. And that has gotten to the back of him. The 15 gets to the back of Olsen as one of these cars plows into another. And then Greg Olsen gets collected by another car right there. And just absolutely horrible start for most of these cars in the midfield. And I would say the ones who got cleaner there, well, Robert Tarleton is probably the luckiest man on this grid right now. After having a horrible start, well, it seems like he escaped scot-free. And it's back to where he started.
Absolutely, incredible start as we have side-by-side racing through the main stretch, entering turn 1 with Vasiliev Poveda. Very close battles and almost 3 wide at the back, trying to get any position in these opening laps, especially Paul Ilbrey trying to come through.
There's contact. Paul Ilbrey again into Fuente.
Oh boy, not the day to remember for Paul Ilbrey. I think he will be out of this race as Abu Rame is defending from Burn for 11th place.
Man, this start of this race has not been Paul Ilbrey's, and well, a lot of drivers right now, and I'm trying to think of who wasn't involved in the incident today so far. I know Samborski, Pacer, and I would say Tarleton, if we don't count up him spinning up the wheels. But pretty much after that, it's a giant gap to the rest of the field. As let's take a look at our biggest movers. It's a tie between Masafumi Abarume and Ivan Alfmoff, and let's take a ride on board with Robert Tarleton. Let's see what happened on board with him. We saw him spinning up the wheels as the lights go off. Just massive wheel spin at the start. And well, he just stayed to the right-hand side of the track. Everyone went around him. And this is where, well, everything hits the fan right now. Contact in front of him, and oh, man, I can't say how lucky Robert is right there.
Oh, yeah, thank God he had that issue. And managed to go through without even hitting anybody, as James Pinsker at the moment looking for the pass for P1, but doesn't have the speed at the end of the main stretch, and Enrique going by Alfimov.
I can tell you someone who is very happy about that. Samborski is going to be happy about that, not having Paul Ilbrink on his heels, especially because it looks like Ilbrink could have had the pace to win this race, and we saw what happened to Ever Samborski at Circuit of the Americas last week on the last lap. Unfortunately, locking up the brakes with Paul Ilbrink dancing on him, but now it's not going to be an easy ride for Samborski as he's got the returning James J. Peace here to try to make a move for the lead once more, as that battle is completely separated from this race. We ride on board of Ivan Alfloff and Jason Enrique in this fight for 5th place.
Yeah, the race is right now split in two parts. You have the leading group with Samborski, Pinsker. I think also Tarleton, if the two start to fight a little bit, it might come even closer, as he set the fastest lap of the race last time by. And then we have all the midfield from Burns to, let's say, 15th place. Actually, they are not too far off.
Yeah, we got about 2 main packs. You got the 2 leaders with Robert Tarleton right behind. Then it's a small pack from 4th all the way to 7th. And then all the way back in 8th place, all the way down to 12th, as Emery is off the track right now, and he's fallen.
It's always these corners creating havoc for drivers with any car. Let's see what happened. If he touched the grass on entry. Oh, not too much mustard. He didn't hit anything, I think, so he should be okay to continue, but still it's a valuable time loss for the... Borski still leading with Pinsker in the slipstream.
Pinsker actually getting out of the slipstream just a little bit. Just staying behind Samborski, and I think Pinsker might be playing a little bit of games with Edward right now, trying to make him a little bit nervous on the last lap and try to force another mistake. But Samborski, I don't think he's going to be making a mistake on the last lap again, especially since the only times where I see him actually losing it, well, it could also be the last corner, Canadian corner, and then turn 3. But really, it's just 3 spots where you're on the brakes, and it was a lockup. And Circuit of the Americas has more opportunities to lock up and make a mistake like that than here at Road America. So Samborski statistically has a good chance to win this race. It's just he needs to keep his head clear and stay clear of James J. Pacer. But Pacer, man, he is fast right now. Speaking of somebody who's fast, Robert Tarleton making his return to the series looks even faster as he's put in another fastest lap of the race, looking to get back up to our leaders after that horrible and lucky start.
Indeed. Lovely late afternoon start for this race this week at Road America.
Yeah.
5 p.m., 30 degrees Celsius on the track, so it's not even that hot, but at the same time I think there might be some tire drop off towards the end of the race. But in the meantime, let's not forget to check in Tarleton, because as you can see from our time comparison, lap comparison, it's really needing every lap by almost half a second. JJ Pinsker, so he might join the 2 leaders very soon.
It's also April Fool's Day in the sim, so if you just lose control of the car, you know what you can blame it on. Don't know if y'all have April Fools in Europe, or is that just an American thing? You do?
Unfortunately, we do. As we have a Ferrari trying to go by our only Japanese driver today in the field, Aburame. Side by side through these corners usually doesn't really end up really well. In fact, the German driver slides back in.
Perez does not have an engine cover.
Oh yeah, cool option for the German driver.
Yeah, the back end, you can see that's a neat feature of this car. You can see the tailpipe actually has damage, but the wing does not. I'm not sure how he doesn't have damage on the rear wing, but has damage on the wastegate and is missing his engine cover. It's certainly not going to be helping him down the straights, but it looks like he has all the downforce he needs.
Also plenty of speed on the straight, to be fair. He might have lost a bit of top speed, but he didn't actually lose too much from Aburame. Probably if he loses the slipstream, it will be passed easily by Burn. But
drag.
I think he will be fine, as Tarleton is right now only 1 second behind Pinsker, so we can almost state that he's back with our leaders. So now we have 3 groups in this race, we can say, the front three. Then we have Lonely Burns in 4th place, and then followed by Poveda Enrique, Alfimov, and Byrne, and Vasilev in from 5th to 9th, and then following Aburame, Ferrathlete, and Jamie Byrne.
You know, I don't think Perez knows that he is missing an engine cover because he's driving like he is got one mean machine right now. Once again, trying to go for a move on Masafumi right behind him.
I think it's gonna be difficult for him to know that he is missing some engine cover on the back, because I don't think you can see it from the mirrors, and definitely not from the virtual mirror. So he probably will know it only at the end of the race. He might have been asking himself, why am I so slow on the straight? But
he might get a little hit from Byrne right behind him. Oh, there's a mistake.
That's the only thing Byrne was waiting for, to get a freebie from Ferrathlete. Made a slight mistake as Kinska goes out of the slipstring from
Oh, I know what James is doing. James does not want to pass Samborski. He's intentionally getting out of the slipstream and just staying with Samborski and not wanting to overtake him. And he's just saving his DRSs for the end. And I believe Samborski is doing the same. And as they're doing that, here I see a little bit of a red dot coming up the track behind him. Robert Tarleton might enter the party very soon.
Last lap he was not as fast as the previous ones. He had a perfect lap compared to the first two. He didn't lose anything, but didn't gain anything either. So he's hanging there out of the dirty air, and maybe saving a bit of tires, since when you are very close to someone in front, your car gets definitely affected by some dirty air, and tire wear is, I think, a little bit increased.
Yeah, his tire wear is going to be hurting just Lopez. Oh, Lopez in the wall.
Another tricky area of the track. Gets out of the hairpin and then under the Corvette bridge. Clips the clips, goes completely on the grass. He saves it, but then
Does this lose it off the exit?
I think he will lose it on the exit of this corner. It's usually the power spot.
No.
Might Marco teasing us with some longer replay than usual. Building the suspense.
Is this it?
I think this is it,
yeah. Yeah, because it was turn 3, I realized where it was. And there it is. No? Yeah, nope, there it goes. Oh. No, actually it looked fine. It was just a snap oversteer. And his return to the series for Jorge Exposito, unfortunately not going his way as he retires from this race. And surprisingly, most of the drivers that are involved in that opening lap collision stayed in the race.
Yeah, also Paul Hilbrink with some damage. He's still 15, trying to pass Fuente for 14th right now. He's definitely lacking plenty of speed compared to the other drivers for the damage he has, but at the same time he's still hanging on that.
Yeah, Paul Hilbrink still in the race as we ride on board with Pavel ahead of James Byrne.
And these drivers are in front of Buram and Byrne, as we have Hilbrink trying to go by the beautiful Renault car of Juan de la Fuente. It's going to be interesting to see if he is lacking some straight line speed, but at least the front wing seems to be very good. Maybe has some rear wing damage.
No. His car looks fine, surprisingly.
Pace-wise seems to be a bit slower compared to the other drivers at the top. this
He
lap.
might have some side pod damage though.
Yeah.
You've seen the effect on the top speed with the side pod damage on this car. It's like getting a complete barge board ripped off in the Formula 1 cars. We go up the track. Byrne looking down the inside of Pavel, and James Byrne takes up 8th place. Great move.
Yeah, and also we have Jamie Byrne trying to make a pass happen on Burame as Ilbrink went by one of the Fenta for 14th place. He's now looking already forward to get into a fight with Fabio Berchtold for 13th.
Back to the battle for 8th. Byrne defending on the inside. Pavel holding that outside line, looking to make the switch back right now, but it's not going to happen right there as they continue on racing here at Road America. Let's go down to Fuente and Ilbrink. Fuente around the outside, Paul Ilbrink down to the inside. Ilbrink goes low, and Fuente makes a mistake, locks up the brakes, and Ilbrink, to quote a streamer, that's a freebie.
Yeah, I think he definitely is lacking some strength and speed as Tarleton now got back to the leading pack as we are almost halfway through the race already. It's gonna be interesting now, Austin, to see if Pinscar approach is gonna be different compared to these first 9 laps, because now he can't just hang there in 2nd place and lift in the slipstream of Samborski, because he might be passed by Tantor quick, and I think he might be already here.
Yeah, here's Tarleton. Tarleton's not going to go for 2nd. He's going to go for the lead. Welcome back, Robert Tarleton.
What a pass, DRS pass 100% as Pinscar is now looking towards the inside of Samborski, but I think he might just hang there in 3rd place and wait for something to happen in front as we have our weekly...
That's the face of shock right there. He's completely surprised where Tarleton came from, and you're going to see it in his eyes, his confusion, and yeah. Or is that the face of concentration that he's going to get him back? I'm not sure. Samborski has a very good poker face.
Indeed. Whatever happens, whatever the feelings are, he's never changing his facial expression, so he might be a good Texas Hold'em poker player.
Yeah.
10 seconds the gap between the top 3 and Theodore Burns in 4th place, who definitely is having a great race. Started 13th and now is all the way up to 4th. But this race is not gonna be easy because behind Poveda, Enrique and Alfunov are not that far. So he's gonna have to fight to keep his top 5. As Tarleton is trying to open a gap now on Samborski.
Tarleton is pulling away. Samborski needs to enable DRS to catch up there, but here comes Pacer. He's only on the outside. Pacer, I think Pacer is just along for the ride right now. He wants to see what these two guys can do because he's lifting onto the outside and just not even in the draft. James J. Pacer is just sitting in 3rd place, and I think he's just waiting for the right opportunity at the end of the race to go for it.
Yeah, I think so. He's been lurking around at the back of Samborski's car for the entirety of the race, so I think he's just enjoying the draft, enjoying the ride, and probably we will see him make some moves towards the end, or he just here for the fun and the pure enjoyment of driving this beautiful car, and he will be happy already with the 3rd place. I don't know. You never know. As we are now following P6, Jason Enrique. Not with a great qualifying, but I think he's gonna be definitely glad to have had a terrible qualifying, considering he went through very easily the wreck in turn 1. And here we are now looking at Pavel Vasilyev, the UK and Ireland driver, trying to keep up with one of the burn, James.
Oh, that's where I've seen that livery before. He's running the Formula 2 SMP racing car. Ferrari Driver Academy version. You know what? I'm a sucker for red, white, and blue cars. I don't know. It's just something. It's just something about me.
Here Burns are now under threat from Antonio Ortiz Poveda. Doesn't make the pass. Obviously, driver still also trying to think about when to make a pass and the DRS situation, because obviously if you pass then you have to pull away, possibly to avoid any other counter attacks, and then only 7 DRS it's gonna be difficult.
Early on the brace for Poveda, as he's just finally Burns going all the way out onto the runoff curbing. So they go underneath the Corvette bridge into that tricky left-hander. You have to be off the throttle for most of it, then you get back onto the throttle. Just get onto it just a little bit more. It's like the exit of the boot at Watkins Glen. You can go around so easily there. And also, this is a place where you can go around as well, because you got that dip on the apex here as you head into the carousel. And if you're behind somebody, that dirty air is taking a lot of effect. You get to hear Poveda going on and off the throttle to stay with Burns to keep that back end under control. As they fly through the kink, that's not a challenge in these cars. And he's getting a good run heading into Canadian corner. He might have DRS open at this time. And as soon as I said that, he's left off and it completely stopped. But that's how much pull you have. Even without DRS, they head into Canadian corner.
Indeed, draft is huge on this track, as Samborski pointed out last week during our interviews, and we clearly are seeing here the effect with these midfield drivers, but also in front. We have in the meantime Poveda trying to make a pass. He's now side by side, and I think he will make the pass happen right now in T1, but it's not over, because the back straight is gonna favor Burns again.
Ooh, a little bit of a lock-up on the entry, but stays with him. Now this is a good run, but once again he's lifting.
Yeah, I think if he's lacking some pace compared to the Spanish drivers, the best thing he could do is just to stay in the draft and get carried on.
Wait for
the rest of the last laps and try to make a pass. As you can see here, the difference is pretty noticeable between the top 3 and the midfield. 1 second was the gap. There was some lift and coasting also for Poveda, but at the same time, this is more or less the trend we are having this race compared to the top 3, as Tarleton is not too far off in the distance, so Samborski will have still some draft, but I think the guy that is gonna have the most DRS is available for the end is gonna be definitely JJ Pinsker.
Pinsker once again pulling out of the draft, not even challenging Samborski, and he just set the fast lap of the race. 149.78 for James J. Pinsker, and you know, he might be going for that last lap pass heading into Canadian corner, as that provides you with the least amount of chance to get taken back on, as there's not enough room to do a full-on DRS pass going out of the final corner up into the line. It's going to be close, but Canadian corner seems like the best bet for it. And Samborski's off the track. Samborski's down to 3rd.
He might have done a small mistake as Pinsker moves up to 2nd place. And mostly, Tarleton is now 1.5 seconds ahead, so it's gonna be interesting to see if he can pull away.
Well, Pacer staying on the inside. There's Samborski on the outside. Samborski just goes wide. Wow,
Yeah,
that's
but
the
I think
shortest on the track.
James there showed the nose on the inside, and then Samborski was a bit hesitant closing the door and went a bit wide, but now it's time to shine for Pinsker and close the gap as fast as possible, as Marco points out our strength of field of today, which is 4.4k, so let's say a pretty strong field compared to some other weeks we've been having. Ooh, we have Enrique
no,
off the track.
Enrique! Canadian corner Jason Enrique just went straight on. It looks like he got into the grass right there.
Yeah, I think
In
so.
the braking zone, just nothing responded, and
I think the car had a moment on entry. Oh no, it just went straight.
understeer. Just
Yeah,
well, I think that's deserving of a brakes failed moment that 2016 Haas fans will hate to remember.
indeed. Spinsky closed the gap pretty quickly using his DRS, I guess. You can see how the gap is closing down on the straights. So I think they're using all the DRS available to him that he didn't use at the start. As Fuente goes through Fabio Berchtold, our German driver, having some trouble in this race with pace. And in the meantime, we also have a Hilbrink in 12th, making up another spot, and now trying to reel down Ferraz Leite, although he's 8 seconds ahead. Apurame, 9th place, camera shy. Went straight
that's
on the
unfortunate.
breaking point. Didn't lose much time, but allowed Jamie Byrne to move up into 9th place. Now he's gonna have to defend from Ferraz Leite. And here, Tarleton still leading after a dreadful start that gave him the chance to go pretty much unscraped through turn 1. Is now trying to fend off the return of JJ Pinsker, who scores now, sets the fastest lap of the race with a 1:49.4. So clearly sign that he is not lifting anymore on the straight. Pinsker closing down the gap on the straight yet again. See how fast the gap comes down. 2/10 on this backstretch.
Yeah, Tarleton's still leading, but that gap is falling down. James J. Pacer putting on a good show. New fast lap of the race for James J. Pacer, 1:49.44. As they just have 5 laps to go now. Pacer still closing in. Sector 3 kind of even on both of them, but James has a great shot to make a return to the top split, and B, a new, sometimes new number magic helping out for James A. Pacer, the new #1 car in this field, which usually belongs to either Paul Ilbrink or Tim Delisle. Well, James hopped in here and says, well, after a week of not getting into the top split and almost trolling us in the commentary room with last week where I sadly almost picked him, even though he was in the second split. Well, he's got enough iRacing. I'm not sure how he did it, but to get into the top split again by a massive margin.
Absolutely. He definitely enjoyed some GT racing. I spot him sometimes.
Ooh, Tarleton.
Yeah, he's not giving up easy.
Well, he's using DRS now.
Yeah,
And he
it's
can
man
see the
games.
gap. He pulled out a 1-second gap on that front straight. Tarleton with the DRS, and now we're going to start seeing some drag racing. There goes Pacer with the DRS now. Gonna answer back.
It's gonna be interesting to see the situation with DRS in the last few laps, because Tarleton might try to use plenty of DRS right now to break the draft and have a calmer end of the race. And then Pinsker might hang on and use 1 or 2 on the last lap. It's always beautiful to speculate on this DRS strategy on these draft-dependent tracks. Gives you always some hopes to have a great battle till the end, although the gap is still 1 second.
Pinsker trying to bring it back into his second on the returning Tarleton. Right on board of Robert Tarleton, looking back at Pinsker. Pinsker trying to pull him back in. Tarleton opens up DRS, and I believe Pinsker is as well. Pinsker is in the draft, so he's going to have a higher top speed. As they come across the line, Robert Tarleton puts in another blazer of a lap. A new fastest lap for Robert Tarleton. James A. Pinsker just slightly behind by 1/10 of a second. And it's 1.1 seconds separating these two cars as they're going through DRS usage like I go through McDonald's Big Macs.
Not much Pinsker can do if Tarleton keeps putting down these great laps. I don't think you can go much faster than that. These laps are incredibly fast. But still, he's closing the gap down a little bit. It's gonna be interesting to see if he will be able to be close enough to get a very good slipstream on the last lap, while Samborski in the meantime lost the draft and is cruising back home in 3rd place. Well, he should be happy about the podium, but I think he will be not really happy about his performance, although a podium is great. Almost 2 laps left for today's race, as we pick on Greg Olson, who is about to get 1 lap down after having a trip on pit road to repair his car after the huge wreck in the opening corner of the race, as JJ Pinsker sets his personal and race best lap with a 49.18. Tarleton might get a bit of a slipstream from Olson, maybe, if he gets close enough.
You might be getting some draft from Olson right there, but that's going to also be hurting him in the corners as, ooh, Burns getting a good block job from Vassell right ahead of him, but Burns trying to swing it around to the outside. It's not going to work out for it. Oh, no!
Oh, too much mustard.
Too much mustard right there. Very unfortunate.
Having a trip in the grass, and also here Samborski with a joker lap on the grass. Bit of rallycross for our 3rd place driver, as we are about to start the last lap of today's event. Great performance by Robert Tarleton. Very lucky, to be fair, on the first corner.
Yeah, white flag is in the air here at Road America. Almost at Road Atlanta right there. Robert Tarleton takes the white flag. 1 lap to go here as Tarleton, returning to the series, has a 1.4 second gap and is pulling away for James J. Pinks here. And I think James is out of DRS uses.
Yeah, I think so. There is no other explanation for this kind of gap opening up so quickly. I haven't seen Pinsker make a mistake.
I think Greg Olson might have a little bit of influence on the straights right there.
Yeah, I think so. Slightly, but still a little bit of draft for Tarleton to get a few kph more on the straight.
Come on, we're in America. We're in America. We're using miles an hour. Come on, man.
I know, I'm European. I reference in kph.
Is in America.
You see,
in America.
Also the beautiful dashboard we have on the...
It's a American track.
Okay. but when we will go back to Europe, we will do European way.
Yeah, sure. When we go back over there, but currently we're in America. This is America. Come on, man. I thought this was America.
So complain to our great producer Marco using kph also on our dashboards. But never mind.
Well, currently Robert Tarleton exiting at over 100 miles an hour as I pull up my iRacing dashboard. Coming up into the final corner, Robert Tarleton, returning to the Formula 3.5 series, is going to take the checkered flags. He comes onto the front straight underneath the NTT data sign. Ladies and gentlemen, your winner, Robert Tarleton.
Amazing race. JJ Pinsker in second place, and Samborski, after having some troubled last laps, is bringing home the car in third. Fourth place for Antonio Poveda, fifth for Theodore Burns, followed very closely by Ivan Alfimov, James Byrne, Pavel Vasilev, and Safumia Burame coming on the start finish line right now. Polibrink 11, so he bounced back thanks to some mistakes of people in front, scoring the best lap time of his race, right on the last, as we have last few cars coming down the start finish.
Finishes up in 10 spots up. Well, actually, he got 10 iRating, 3 spots up from where he qualified. Bevo Birchtold, quiet day for him, finishing in 14th. Sean Felipe, we saw him get involved in that opening lap collision. He's going to come home in 15th place.
I am Keyman. Very good performance last week at Kota before making a mistake. Today very unlucky with the start shenanigans as we have the last car on track, a lonely Greg Olson.
Yeah, Greg's had a very downward spiral day today. We see side pod damage on him. He was involved. He was involved with the lap 1 crash and was a catalyst for how it all came out. And I say he's ended it the worst. But he comes across the line, and he's the last car to finish this line in this great American track. As let's take a look at our results. Robert Tarleton takes the win ahead of James J. Pinsker. Sam Borski finishes third. Antonio Poveda in fourth, followed by Theodore Burns. Ivan Eifmoff in sixth. James Byrne, Pavel Vasiliev, Massimiliano Abarume, Andreas Ferraz-Lite, Paul Ilbrink, Jamie Byrne, Juana Fuente, Fabio Birchall, John Felipe Gendon. I'm Kime, Greg Olson, Riley Miller, Jason Enrique, Evan R.T. Emery, and Jorge Lopez at the end of the pack. And everyone who started this race, well, either if they were involved in a wreck or not, they kept on going. Alessandro, how was that race as we get Robert Tarleton with us?
Oh, absolutely a great race. I really enjoyed it. The top guys always provide us with an amazing show, and also in the midfield, it never gets boring. we wouldn't have much time to plug in our great sponsors shout-outs in this category during the race, because there's always so much things to talk about.
Yeah, so much things to talk about, and probably the biggest thing to talk about was that start, as we are joined by Robert Tarleton as he returns to the series. Robert, it wasn't the start you wanted, but it was certainly the finishing result you wanted. Walk us through that.
Yeah, I'd definitely say that's the way I'd sum it up. Yeah, so I launched the car manually on the clutch, and I guess it wouldn't be the same if I don't mess up the start. But yeah, I just gave it a little bit too much clutch and spun the wheels off the line, and just figured that was going to be the end of my race. I don't really know what happened into the first corner, but that definitely ended up playing out in my favor, because then I was able to get back up into third, which is where I was starting from, but just 3 seconds back. And so at that point, it was just, just keep focused, don't make mistakes. Just like hopefully the two guys up front will kind of battle with each other and slow themselves down a bit to allow me to catch up. Unfortunately, I think that was the case, because about 10 laps in or so, I was able to catch up to the back of James. And at that point, I just figured, as soon as I caught up to him, I just go for it. And I was originally thinking I would just get past James down that front straight. But then, like, to my surprise, when I pulled out, I saw he was already right on the gearbox of Samborski. So I was like, well, I guess I'll try to get both of them. And I just held tight, because I didn't know if James was going to try to go for a pass. So I was just going to be like, man, I'll just hold tight up against him. If he moves out, I'll move out of the way, but maybe that'll kind of keep him tucked in behind Samborski, and I was just able to get them both into turn one. After that, it was just again, keep focused, do clean laps. Hopefully I can pull a gap. And I did see that James eventually got by Ed, and once he got by, he definitely had a lot of pace, because I couldn't really pull a gap on him, and I think we were trading laps, because he was catching up a little bit, and then I'd pull a little bit of a gap. And so I just kept my head down and just tried to manage that gap and not make any mistakes.
Well, it's a return to form to you after you come back to the Formula 3.5 series, and I believe you were running the IR01 in the opening parts of this season. You want to compare how that car runs to this car?
Oh man, okay. Yeah, I didn't run any real races with that car, but I did try it out. Right now, I think they're still working on it, but it has some quirks that, like, I'm not a real big fan of. I think most specifically, I think in the interest of like tuning a car that feels really responsive, but then is also kind of forgiving, they have like a very a very slip sensitive front end where it builds grip very quickly with respect to slip angle, but then the back end builds up grip a lot more slowly. Like, it's a lot softer with respect to slip angle, and that gives you like a lot of steering feel, a lot of like initial turn in, but then a forgiving back end. But to me, it just kind of feels a little bit disconnected, like the front does not match the rear. And so far, I personally think that the Formula Renault 3.5 is still the best open wheel car in the game.
So what you're saying is you're back in the 3.5 series until that gets fixed.
I'd say so, yeah. And the first couple races, I wasn't running just because I was out of town with holiday travel, and I've got a work trip coming up, and then I've got to move as well. So I might not make it to the next couple of weeks, but so far I still like the Formula Renault series.
Well, it's good to see you back in the car, Robert. Congrats on the win. American winning here at Road America. Before we let you know, anyone you want to thank?
Yeah, definitely you guys for the good broadcast and keeping it going over the holidays. I was, definitely watching along each of the races, and of course, as usual, my girlfriend Heidi. She's very supportive, letting me practice, even though I'm pretty tight on time. So thank you to her, and yeah.
All right, congrats on the win, Robert. You have yourself a great time as we go over to Alessandro Daldane, who's standing by with the returning James J. Pinks here.
Yeah, indeed. James, welcome back to the booth. talk us through your race. We saw you playing a bit of mind games with Eddie at the start, not wanting to go by.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's great to be back. First time in here for a few weeks. First time in this broadcast race. And I think you could see that. Maybe there was some evidence of that when the way I was driving in the first few laps. I just wasn't confident. And it was a shame. It was a shame, really, because I think it cost me a lot of time, particularly in the first few laps. I was just not confident, not having driven this car much. This was my first official race in like 3 weeks, I think. Been focusing on driving GTEs instead, and I just wasn't, confident to push the car in race conditions. I felt like I was going to spin if I was going to push too hard. That gradually came to me throughout the race. But yeah, it was just some of the stuff you see, like obviously so much slipstream, so much powerful slipstream, and I think Ed was on very high downforce levels versus myself. So on the straight, just like weaving around, cutting, like sitting out of his draft and still gaining on him. I thought that was quite funny. But yeah, I was just chilling behind Ed in second place for most of the race. Saw Rob was coming. Rob was very quick, and he used his DRS very well. Flew past both of us. Then I got past Ed when he made a small mistake. Pretty clean move. He didn't fight it too hard. And then, just not quite having the pace to keep with Robert Tarleton towards the end of the race. I think overall with second place here, I'm happy with that result. I mean, I'm not confident at this. I don't particularly like racing at this track generally in the past. I haven't been particularly quick here. And coming back into the car, I was very pessimistic of my chances. So second place is all right, but I feel like if I managed my race better and I had a bit more race sharpness as well, I could have won today. Which is a bit frustrating, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah, all things considered, I think second place is a very good result. You need to be consistent. This car punishes very, very quickly, or even a very small mistake. So considering you've been focusing on other things lately, coming back and getting a second place with such a strong field is absolutely a very good result. Any thoughts about next week track, the great and only Long Beach?
Long Beach. Well, I can say for sure, I can say 90% sure I'm not going to be racing there. I haven't bought the track, and it just looks like a bit of a hellhole. It looks very scary.
I think we will miss a few drivers next week because it's a particularly difficult track.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm quite a fan of the tough tracks, to be honest. I think if it proves driver skill on any level, more so than the other ones. Like as I say, this track, for example, it's very basic. When you look at the layout, if you compare that to Long Beach, very bumpy as well, filled with walls. I think the guys who are going to be there, I think I'll watch the race and see how many people end up in the wall, who's going to be doing well, who's going to be doing badly, because very driver skill track and very scary one as well.
Indeed. Anyone we would like to thank before we let you go, James?
Well, I'd like to thank whoever caused that turn one pile up. I'm not sure who made it. I haven't rewatched it yet, but I did see that in the mirror. There was lots of cars heading towards the gravel there. It was just kind of unfortunate that Rob Tarleton wasn't one of them for my race, at least. But about 10 cars off there. That made my race easier, I'd say. But I'm sure that guy isn't going to be getting any other thanks from other people. I'd like to thank ARTV for producing another broadcast. I'd like to thank Ed for some clean racing. Good work, guys. Good race.
Thank you very much, James. Hopefully we will see you in the chat next week. As we are now, I think Austin will have the chance to chat with Eddie quickly.
Actually, we hit our time limit, so we're actually going to have to, unfortunately, cut it short.
Too talkative with James, unfortunately, for Eddie today.
Well, they returned to the series. They're getting their time back on the mic. It was a great day here at Road America. We continue our American tour as we head over to the West Coast for the lovely streets of Long Beach, California. Thank you for joining us here on Apex Racing TV for another great round of the iRacing Formula 3.5 Championship. I've been joined by Alessandro Dalladonde with Marco Barbonera up in the broadcasting booth, and I'm Austin Knight, and I hope y'all have a great night.